Broadcasting from the heart of the Colorado Rockies, it's 4th and 99 with your hosts, David Slade, Keith Brookman, and Matt Stappiero. Now let's talk football here on 4th and 99.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 4th and 99 Denver Bronco post-game show. I'm going to be your host tonight as Dave was at the game today. Lucky Dave. With me, as always, I'll have Keith Brugman joining me. Hey, Keith, how's it going?
Not too bad, buddy. How about yourself? I mean, all things said and done. How you doing, man? You got me, Ben?
Now I do.
Okay. All right, man.
For some reason, I don't know why my headphones decide to just take a crash every single time. As soon as I click on and the intro ends, my headphones are just like, I don't want to work anymore.
You gotta love the technology.
I hope my honey's watching because that means I could, there's still a couple of days to Christmas. Could use headphones, maybe ones that plug in so I can. I'm just kidding. But anyways, hey, Keith, I wish we could be here with some, better news. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean,
yeah, it everything seemed to almost not go the Broncos' way, at least from the offensive side of the ball. Whether you're talking about an injury to a starting quarterback, a running game that never really got going, a passing game that never got going, it was statistically speaking probably one of the most lackluster performances we've seen put on tape by two teams in the NFL in quite some time.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to sum it up. I mean, it felt like the game was all, within reach the entire time. Like it felt like it was just there for the taking for both teams. It was really just waiting for someone to step up and say, hey, this is our game. We want this. And I mean, could we even argue that the Bengals did that? Sure. Could we argue the Broncos kind of gave it away? Absolutely. But yeah. we're gonna give everyone a chance to voice their opinion. We're gonna voice ours, of course. But yes. Two quick things before we dived in today's show. First things foremost, Teddy Bridgewater, that the injury he sustained was incredibly scary for us, as fans. Going through everything that we've seen, at the end of the day, this is just a game. Football is just a game. These guys put their bodies out there on the line for our entertainment. Of course, it's to make provide a good living for their family. But at the end of the day, they still have a family they need to come home to. And I just hope Teddy Bridgewater's okay. The last report we heard was he was transferred to the hospital just as a precautionary reason. He did have movement in his extremities. But when you see something happen like that, it's scary. So, our thoughts are definitely with Teddy Bridgewater and his family as they navigate whatever the injury will be. And as soon as we have more information on exactly what's going on, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah. Well said, Matt. Well said. It like you said, just a game. You never like to see a guy go down like that. It's been quite some time since we've had to gather around a Denver Bronco teammate and have looks of concern in our eyes. So never like to see that. I know there's been a lot of quarterback controversy and a lot of people wanting Locke to come in, but it's never in a situation like that. Never when a guy's laying on the field like that.
Yeah, it was definitely a scary situation. Like I said, thoughts and prayers are with him and his family, and we'll give you guys an update. And also we want to take the quick second before we dive too far into everything to thank our sponsor, Willow Seasonings and Blends, for putting a little bit of spice in our life. Definitely without them, we would not be able to provide you guys with the awesome show that we can. Just a little bit of information about them. If you head over to willowseasonings.com, they have a ton of stocking stuffers. If you're running late on Christmas gifts or you have family coming in after the holidays, put your order in and they'll try to get it to you as fast as they can. Just a ton of wonderful products. My favorite out there is definitely the Sweet Heat and the Sweet Smoke. I use them on my ribs all the time. But that fajita lime seasoning's no joke either. All right, now let's talk football. We got all that out the way. We did. We got the thoughts and prayers out there. Let's talk. Let's talk about the positives first. Let's hop in and let's talk about some of these positives. We were talking about the defense all morning. We talked about the defense and how they were going to be, how they needed to step up. We talked about the three-headed monster in Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins. Well, I'm going to pop up some stats real quick and just to show you what this defense was able to do today. They held Jamar Chase to one catch. I believe they held him without an entire half without a catch.
Yeah, correct.
T. Higgins, well, Jamar Chase was my guy of the head you got to watch. It was T. Higgins for you. Held him to 2 catches, 23 yards. And the guy that I was like, oh, Tyler Boyd's fallen off. He's not part of the big three amigo. He's kind of the lesser of the link.
Yep.
Well, damn it, he decides to show up and have the best game out of all of them and be Joe Burrow's target. But overall, those are pretty impressive numbers for one of the NFL's best trios. I
was waiting for a play to break out all game long, right? I was waiting for it to happen. That you always expected there's going to be one big play, especially with a guy like Jamar Chase. Seemed like there was an opportunity or two for him maybe that was missed, but boy, you just like you said, 3-headed monster, guys that have been putting up touchdowns and receiving yards like crazy. They're a second half team. I was really worried what we'd see in the second half. We saw nothing. It was impressive what this defense is capable of doing, and quite honestly had me thinking about those 2015 Denver Broncos once again.
Yeah, it's funny how we mentioned them and we're like, oh, we haven't seen a defense like that and that can change this game, that can do this, and then they come out and they played a great performance today. I mean, the defense will find a way for someone to twist this and put this on the defense that this loss, that the one touchdown drive they had, the one quick score they had was enough to derail the game. I think that's malarkey. This defense played lights out today. They did their best. Jamar Chase was coming in, if my memory serves me correct, he had 3 consecutive 100-yard receiving games. He held him to 1 catch for 3 yards. This is not a defensive loss, and anyone else who thinks that's not the case. I mean, we'll get into our reasons to why we lost the game a little bit, but on top of that, you held Joe Mixon to 17 carries and less than 60 yards today.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal. It killed me in fantasy because I was kind of hoping he'd have a good day if we lost. So I kind of lost all the way around. It was just a bad day for Matt today.
Oh yeah, I hear you, man. You want to know who my starting 2 wide receivers are in my fantasy football league? Well, that'd be Mr. Jamar Chase and Mr. T. Higgins. So it's one of those ones where you just you're hoping with at least the Broncos pull out a win if they're going to put up performances like this today. So
yeah, you want to know who sat on my bench today?
Who'd you have?
Tyler Boyd.
Ooh, of course, buddy.
Right? That's karma for me. But anyways, this is not a defensive loss. They came in, they kept a very good offense, a very good offensive mind in check. They did exactly what we said Vic Fangio does. He rattles young quarterbacks, and he does really good against these young up and coming offensive coordinators. Had Joe Burrow pose more of a rushing threat, which he actually did. He got it around today. I think he had 25 rushing yards. I mean, that's nothing to brag about, but I believe 3 of his runs resulted in first downs. So
yeah, I know 2 for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, solid performance from them. I mean, at the end of the day, they wanted it. I mean, unfortunately, this is kind of where the positives stop for the Denver Broncos. This was kind of it. This is kind of where the line's drawn.
We didn't have any special teams issues as far as I was concerned, other than a missed field goal. I guess you could still go there.
Yeah, the missed field goal and the blocking in the back later into the second half.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I mean, it wasn't a sloppy game. It could have been worse. We've seen worse.
Yep.
But that's where it's at. So we usually want to get on here and try our best to not bash the Broncos, to not find all the negatives and find positives. But today's it was a very short list of positives.
Yep.
We can go in several directions, but I want to start off with the coaching. And Vic Fangio, that's who I want to kind of put on a pedestal here for a second. For several consecutive weeks, it's just like, okay, well, it seems like he might be learning a little bit. He's starting to make a little bit better choices. Like as soon as you start to kind of put that validation in your feelings, like, hey, maybe this just took a while to develop. Maybe this, it's only year 3, like you've mentioned. He goes out and he makes us scratch our head again. We look at the clock management. Let's look at the final drive of the first half where they had north of 2 minutes. They sat there and let 30 seconds just evaporate off the clock. and then they don't call a timeout until they're under 40 seconds.
Yeah.
After that, and the play calling was very
Can, wait,
questionable.
can I just back up and be a
Go
little bit of
ahead.
a Vic apologist?
Go ahead.
At that point, what we were looking at is, I think it was a 3-3 game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Was that where we were?
yeah. No,
We were playing in this tight game, and he really didn't have much. I don't think he had much confidence in that offense. He wasn't going to
I
go ahead, and
respect
he
that.
didn't want to take the timeout on the north half of 2 minutes and then leave the time on the clock. He didn't want to take a timeout until he got across the 50, and by that time we had about 40 seconds left on the clock, and then he started taking timeouts, as we wanted to maybe get in position to maybe kick a field goal. It seemed like that was our only real thing that we were going after, but sure didn't seem like we're trying to drive it into the end zone, even with that 40 seconds and 3 timeouts.
Yeah, it was just confusing. The entire kind of play calling, the lack of urgency, which we've highlighted as an issue in the past, those kind of things kind of popped up again, and it felt questionable. Um, this is a team that could put up points quickly, as we've seen them come around and do later, in the game. Your defense had been playing well. I mean, it still ended up resulting. You took the safe route. You played for a field goal. The commentary, which kind of was getting on my nerves a little bit today, but they referenced the way that we approached the final drive of the game. The final drive of the half as sheepish. If sheepish and anything in football are used in the same sentence, it's not a good thing. That
No.
is not a good thing. So I just question it, and I don't get it. Some of the chats that I'm seeing come through, is it that they're just not confident in Teddy's ability to spread the ball? Part of me wants to say no, that's not true. We've seen them try to force Teddy to spread the ball. I don't think it was a lack of confidence. I think it was just going back to how Vic Fangio thinks the NFL still works, and that's by kicking field goals, playing good defense. And it didn't work in his favor, as we missed the field goal and they turned around and got 3 points.
Yeah.
So, it was just questionable. Like, was it, life or death? And then, let's fast forward to the fourth quarter. Same thing. There was some questions about when he used the timeout. I think he handled that a lot better than the last drive in the half. I think calling the timeout there when Joe Mixon went down to prevent the additional 25-second runoff, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with that. I mean, you would hope that we stopped them earlier. They got a good play on the previous third down, but I would say it's trending in the right direction. But I mean, Vic Fangio once again proves his defense is not the problem here in Denver.
No,
it's not.
And like I said, I'm maybe I'm a Fangio apologist, but I didn't think he did bad in calling the game. Again, going down that second half, I understood that. I mean, in the first half, I remember thinking, I understand his mindset. I don't want to give the ball back to them with time remaining and let them put up points. Everything just turned the exact opposite direction to end the second half. Like you said, it just flipped on us automatically. McManus a miss, all of a sudden they get a nice 20-yard or 19-yard reception, and they're in field goal range, and he hits a Cincinnati Bengal record 58-yard field goal, in order to put them up by 3 points, and again, going down that second half, I'm the same way. I think I was right in check with you. I think it was the right move for him to go ahead and take the time out when he did, not that let that time roll off. The last thing you want to do is let that time roll off and then them have an 11-second play that then gets them to the 2-minute warning as well. And now now you're really in a bad position. You haven't you've got all 3 timeouts, but they're sitting there, under 2 minutes to play. Save a little bit of time if you can, I guess. But hey, and for me, not one bad challenge play by
Hey,
Fangio
I
either.
will take that any day of the week. I
He's
mean, it's
had a
kind of
hard
sad
time with
that
that one.
we got there's our moral victory of the day. No bad challenges.
There you go. Well, we're trying to find all those good things. I'm trying to continue on that page. And I think Fangio did a great job on the defense. I think he did a great job with his timeouts. He didn't have any bad challenges. Maybe check this off in another good column, in my opinion.
Yeah, there we go. There's one more victory that we could check off the good old list for being Bronco. I'll label us the Broncos apologist tonight.
There you go.
There you go. We'll try to sell you something. Real quick, a couple comments are coming in. Kenny Kirkpatrick from K&K Sports Show. Good evening, fellas. Tough loss to say the least. He follows up with this, that he thinks this loss is assuring the Broncos will go all in for Rodgers or Wilson. This is going to be a discussion that we're going to have to maybe have this upcoming Wednesday. So be sure to tune in as we try to break down the mess of the quarterback position. I mean, we've been trying to figure it out for forever now.
Yeah.
But that seems like it might be an appropriate Wednesday conversation for the Rodgers and Wilson train. But but real quick, K&K Sports Show, check them out. They're based out of New York. They're a great show, guys. They always we love to chat football with them. They'll bring us on once in a while.
Yeah, I was going to say when it comes to Wednesday, we could be talking not only a little bit of what the future quarterback looks like, but also what the playoff picture looks like a little bit as well. So might have a little bit better understanding by that point too.
Yeah, as of right now, just to give a brief update on the playoff picture, and then we'll kind of dive into the remainder of the I guess negatives.
Yeah.
Broncos went from 10th. They have fallen to 12th as of right now with the Dolphins win. It's looking pretty scary for the Broncos playoff hopes now. Three of the teams in front of them are the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns. If the Browns win, that will mean 3 out of the 4 teams ahead of them have a victory over the Broncos, as the Broncos unfortunately have fallen to 0-4 versus the AFC North this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not looking good for us, and it may take more than a 3-game win streak to get us in, unfortunately.
Amazing.
Yep. You went from hoping you were 5th or 6th today to looking like you're almost cooked.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's almost it's going to take a little bit of help, and if anything I've seen this season, it's been a up and down season. Not to get too far off topic, but congratulations to the Lions and getting another win versus the Arizona Cardinals. Hello?
Yeah, no one thought that was going to happen.
So maybe we can get a little help where we just don't expect it. Stranger things will certainly help in this NFL season.
It is going to take some help and a great performance from this Denver Broncos team moving forward. Well, let's dive into where the real problem lied today, and that's going to be the offense. It was an ugly game. We got a nice little breakdown here of how it kind of went by quarter. It was. I mean, those are really unimpressive numbers as a whole from both. I mean, and that's 2 quarterbacks. That's both of them.
That's everybody.
That's everybody. And I mean, to highlight a 67-yard quarter, I mean, it's just it's unacceptable at this point. Teddy Bridgewater prior to the injury, there's been a ton of flack on him, like he's been inaccurate lately. He can't get the ball moving. It's been stagnant, and that's true. It really has been. And I don't want to talk ill too much of it right now, but this game continued down that trend for Teddy up until that injury. It's unfortunate we didn't get to see if he could spark any mojo prior to the injury. I mean, because he ended up getting himself hurt.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like him and his receivers have not been on the same page. I'll highlight a couple plays really quick. Right before the half, there was a play where Jerry Jeudy was running, straight up the seam. It looks like he was supposed to be cutting out at about 15 yards. Teddy Bridgewater just hucked it up. Jerry Jeudy wasn't even looking for the ball. It just seems like the communication, the lack of execution has been a significant issue lately. Play calling, I mentioned a comment in the group chat. It's we look back at last year and we talked about how Pat Shurmur decided to manipulate the playbook and minimize the amount of deep routes that were out there. Is it time to possibly try to do the same thing with Teddy, but take away some of that underneath, force him to have to make some of these tougher decisions? Because we see more often than not, he wasn't trying to force the ball. And that's just who Teddy is in his nature. He's not one that's going to force it. And sometimes that results in these kind of numbers. Yeah. And these kind of numbers don't win football games.
One thing that I do want, I guess I'll just be the apologist all the way around. But when it comes to the quarterbacks, Teddy was under pressure all day long. That offensive line did him no favors. Seemed like he always had a guy in his lap. He was always having to try to get out, always trying to throw off balance. And Teddy is one of those guys who, if he can, he'll stay in the pocket and try to deliver the ball at least for the first 5 seconds. So just kind of disappointed in the offensive line performance, and it obviously trickled right into a quarterback that's also struggling, like you said, trying to get out to his wide receivers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you go back and you look at the numbers: 12 for 22, 98 yards for Teddy. I mean, that kind of stays on track with where he's been. Um, Teddy, he is what he is, and everything around him has to be going right. And today things were kind of going right. One thing you mentioned, the O line, that was a huge issue. Pass protection in the first half was atrocious. Like it was,
Mm-hmm.
there was several times where they sent a delayed blitz. Cushionberry drifted to the right. They got Minerts on it once as well, and they got Reisner on it once. 3 free shots at the quarterback.
Yeah.
Literally, he's running around and he's got to throw it away. Uh, I mean, you got to, and these guys, when they're doing this is the center has not blocking anyone. He was not engaged with anyone. Neither was Reisner on the 2 plays I'm referencing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they waited. As soon as the guard or the center turned their back, they're blitzing. They're going straight up the middle. It was atrocious. Pass protection was horrible. We weren't running the ball very effectively either. We weren't running the ball as much as we probably should have in the first half either.
I'll somewhat agree with you on that. I know that you were a big proponent in our pregame show. Anyway, that checked it out. Matt was all about getting this win through the run game. I was about getting it through the air. He was, expecting big things from Javonte Williams. I was expecting big things out of Teddy Bridgewater. Obviously, neither one of us came up big, but I'll give you this. The way that we were running the ball, it might not have been super effective, but at the same time, I felt like if we would have just kept at it, it was one of those things where, hey, maybe we break a touchdown just like they break a touchdown on a pass play. We get one in the run game. It happens. You need to continue to pound the rock sometimes in order to get that one that busts loose. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, let's highlight the pass to Cortland Sutton. It was a great play defensively. Could the ball been out a little further? Sure. But that ball, for the most part, hit Cortland Sutton directly in the hands. The defender made a great play. So Teddy he did stretch the field in some cases. Could it have been better? Absolutely. It can always be better. Let's flip the script really quick. And this is where I know I'm going to catch a ton of heat because of being the lock flogger that I am. And I'm gonna catch heat for it. Had Drew Lock look better today? Sure, absolutely, he did. He brought in, he did bring a sense of energy out onto the field. He did, but how much was that contribute to these players wanting to rally for their leader who just went down with a horrific injury, or how much was it really just Drew Lock being this fun guy? I'm willing to go out on a limb and say it was a combination of both, and not just so much the impact of Drew Lock having on this team. Drew Lock coming off the bench from the previous couple times, he looked completely awful. I don't think it was like, oh, yay, Drew's here to be our savior. It was like, we got to go out and win this. Our guy just went down on a horrible play. They were rallying for their quarterback. That's where that energy came from. That's where that crowd came from.
Yeah,
that's where the life came from. It wasn't just were there some people who were excited to see Drew Lock? Absolutely. But the energy of this team this resurgence of energy did not just come because Drew Lock decided, I'm going to step on the field. That was not where it came from.
No, I 100% agree, and I think that's even evident just because of the type of injury. It's another thing when Teddy was off on the sidelines and he's hobbling with his fibia or tibia or whatever was hurting him, and Drew Lock goes in, and you want to rally behind Drew Lock. It's another thing when that quarterback goes out and he's being carted off and he's on a board. At that point, it's all about just rallying about that quarterback. It has nothing to do with that second guy that's coming in and how much you wanted him to be QB1 to begin with. It was all about just getting behind Teddy and hoping to get a win out of that. I do got to say, right off the bat, though, going up and throwing up a ball to Tim Patrick in the end zone, giving him a chance. It's something that we've talked about. Just get the ball out there. We have big guys. We have Cortland Sutton. We have Tim Patrick. You've been on here railing. Just get the ball up. Get them a jump ball situation. This is what these guys are made for. Sure as we continue to say that, we see it finally this game with Drew Lock on that touchdown pass. It felt like things were going to get magical. Felt like things were going in the right direction at that point.
He did, and he did the one thing I asked that I said this morning. You got to just toss it up there. You got great receivers. You can go and get the 50-50. Excuse me. There was some, the commentary was like, oh, that was an underthrown ball, this or that. Who cares? It was a touchdown. I'm happy with it. He gave his receiver an opportunity, something that, Teddy had not done in a while. So I'll give him his credit there. But it just comes back down to, with Locke, like I said, I enjoy. I said this in the group chat today. I said I enjoy the fun he brings to the game. And I compared this to Teddy. I said there's a difference between being stagnated and staying safe, and being stagnated and careless because of the fun. So this is where the risk comes with Drew Lock for me. He gives you these opportunities to throw the ball way downfield. He gives you the opportunity to do all of these different things because of his arm talent. But Drew Lock gets in Drew Lock's way more than anybody else. As soon as Drew Lock hit the field, even on the touchdown pass, what are we seeing Twitter hit? Every single analyst out there was saying he didn't plant his feet. He didn't do these things. They're highlighting the same flaws we've talked about for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And that's a huge concern. We talk about that. Let's go into the play that, in my opinion, sealed the game. The play that you got the quarterback, you got the energy, you feel you could be fun, and what happens? You get loose, you try something you've never done before, and Drew Lock does what Drew Lock does best. He turns the damn ball over.
Yeah.
And what happens? He turns the ball over, and that's when the final domino kind of fell, and it just fell apart from there.
Yeah.
It's great to get a touchdown. It's great to get that rallying around yourself, but then you go and you get in your own way again, and it's just disheartening. And I go back to what Kenny said. It was a very short film. We're going to have 3 games to really evaluate what he's got possibly. But in the small sample sizes we've seen of him every time this year, it seems to be those same exact problems keep coming back. I don't care how funny he is to watch. I don't care if he throws for 5 touchdowns. If he throws for 5 touchdowns and turns the ball over 5 times and we still lose, I don't care about fun. I don't care about excitement. I don't care if we win 13-10 every single game. A win is a win.
Yeah.
42-41 is still a loss.
Okay, and I'll jump in as the once again apologist. I think we've said it time and time again. We don't blame this 100% on Drew Lock. His development was just lambasted from the very beginning. Switching out of offensive coordinators, in and out of the lineup, always in quarterback competitions. He just was never really given a chance to develop the way he should. But every time he takes the field, and I'll 100% agree with you on this, he doesn't look like he's developed. First series he came out, and I'll agree. It looked like he was trying to run through the coaching in his mind, because he was actually going through some reads. He was actually looking around the field. After the first series, it was all gone. It was all back to just Drew Lock, and like you said, it's Drew Lock, unfocused and fun, and unfocused and fun. Unfortunately, has not been a recipe for success here in Denver. So I have to agree with you, man.
Yeah, and going into that second drive up into the critical RPO, which I still do not understand. I would love to get answers to this. We're not watching I didn't watch the press conference. I was stuck in traffic, of course. Of course, when I wanted to find an answer out, I'm stuck in traffic. Excuse me. To where that play call came from. But as soon as that happened, we seen Drew Lock fall into who Drew Lock has been, not being able to rebound. He gets in his own head. You've seen he was somewhat accurate on those first 2 drives. Could it have been a little better? Could the footwork been a little bit better? Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and nitpick that, because they were resulting in positive plays up until the I don't even know what you want to call it. I don't even know how the heck you let the defensive tackle strip you and get ready to take off running for 40. I don't get it. I just don't grasp it. It wasn't like you're going through a hole and you're trying to bounce off all these bodies. You literally just stood up and got the ball yanked right out of your hand by a 300-pound man that
it's like a Statue of Liberty play, except you're giving it to the defense. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
And granted, they're all athletes, but let's be realists. How much athleticism and dynamic ability does a defensive tackle have? So, I mean, that's just kind of where it's at. But after that play happened, we've seen Drew Lock fall into who he's been. We've seen the inaccuracies come back. We've seen him miss another potential play that could have been a touchdown to Tim Patrick. We've seen him miss the wide open. It wasn't wide open, but had he put the ball in stride, had he put the ball on target on Cortland Sutton on the following drive, that drive
Yep.
extends. You get your momentum back.
Yep.
It's sad to say that the only bright spot that we continue to find in this offense is Javonte Williams, who's going to be staying on pace to be the next Broncos rookie to break 1,000 yards. That's
Amazing.
really what we got right now. He needed, I believe, 60 to get 64 yards a game. He was close to not getting to that average today. I believe he ended up with like 73, 74 yards. I don't remember off the top of my head. 72 yards. So barely to keep on track for that. So it'll be interesting to see if he breaks it. But
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. We talk about. I was just looking at Cincinnati's three-headed monster. We'd love to think that we had a three-headed monster, and in our two recent wide receiver signings, and a second-year guy who's really looking to break out. Tim Patrick led the way, 3 catches for 42 yards. Sutton had 2 for 12, and Jerry Jeudy was 0 for 0 on the day. So, just again, you need to be able to get these guys the ball. I don't care. We've been talking about jump ball situations. We've been talking about getting the ball over the middle. We've been talking about a lot of different ways to get these guys the ball, but we continue to rely on only on one thing. Like you said, we only have the running game to rely on as any hope of winning games at this point. It seems like our passing game is completely stalled out.
yeah, and that's true. One quick thing, real quick. Pat Shermer, you're not getting out of this one scot-free.
Thank you.
You're not going to do it. I was frustrated with the first time game plan. Like, I get you just paid Cortland Sutton. I get it. But it almost felt like they were trying to force feed Sutton at some points of the game, in the beginning of the game. I get it. He's your top receiver. But at the same time, the play should not be designed for Cortland Sutton to get the ball. We haven't seen him get 5 targets in a game lately. He's been kind of the odd man out. And all of a sudden, you're forcing 5 targets on him in the first half. Questionable. I mean, granted, that could be Teddy, but if there's play designs. It looks like it felt like there were play designs to try to get Cortland Sutton going, which you should. He's your number one guy, but where that bread and butter was for Cortland Sutton was on those routes you isolated this morning, getting them down the seam, outside the numbers, and every single time he had the opportunity, that's when Cortland Sutton was open. But I don't know what Pat Shermer's thought was, and then, of course, Pat Shermer, if you dial up that run pass option, my friend. We might have to fight one day. I don't know. Drew Lock is not Malik Willis. He's not Lamar Jackson. Heck, he's not even Andrew Luck. Okay, in terms of mobility, this kid, I don't know. And Drew Lock, hand the ball off, Drew, please. Moving forward, don't ever, don't do this again, please.
Yeah.
Let's learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, it always surprises me when people come up with the most inopportune times to come up with, the gimmick play to come out with. It's not the time. You're standing on the 9-yard line. You're about ready to put the game away. Don't get gimmicky. Stick to what your bread and butter has been. Stick to those plays that have been working, and live with the outcome at that point. Heck, even if it would have been 3 points, we probably could have lived with it at the time. It's a heck of a lot better than turning the ball over and ruining all momentum in the game.
Exactly. Real quick, focusing on this play for just a quick more second, then we got one more question, then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Okay.
There's 2 types of running quarterbacks. You got your RPOs, your Lamar Jacksons, your whoever else you want to put in that category, and then you got your one of a kind bootleg type of runs. They wanted you to give the ball to Javonte Williams. That defensive tackle was the end, or I can't remember if he's tackle right off the top of my head, was the only one on that side of the field that was left. They thought that ball was going to Javonte Williams. You get a play action, you do the old Peyton Manning bootleg, Drew Lock in open space rather than having to try to evade a guy that's directly in his face. I like my options a lot better than that. So that's why if I was going to go with a designated quarterback run for Drew Lock in that situation, that sure as heck felt a lot more natural than trying to do an RPO where you get blown up by a guy within 2 seconds. So
yeah. When was the last successful RPO that Drew Lock ran, for crying out?
I couldn't even give it to you. But real quick, so we'll wrap it up with this question today. We got a question coming in from Kenny Kirkpatrick from K&K. Question for you guys. Who would be your top 3 quarterbacks on your Christmas wish list? Can be a rookie, veteran through trade, or Drew Lock, LOL, with number 1 being best. Did you want to go? We'll each do our 3s, 2s, and then we'll finish with our 1s.
Yeah, man, that works.
All right. I'll let you go first with the 3.
All right. Coming in at number 3 for me would be Mr. Kenny Pickett. I'll go ahead and go to the draft and pick him up.
Beautiful. Okay, for number 3 for me, this is going to shock some people. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Oh.
Okay. Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is your number 3. I'm going to go with Mr. Aaron Rodgers as my number 2 pick overall.
Okay. I'll take that.
You?
My number 2, it's going to come as a shocker to some. I would love Kenny Pickett. I would love Matt Corral. I don't know if those are going to be legitimate possibilities. Both, there's rumors that Kenny Pickett could be the number 1 pick in the draft right now.
I just see wish list. It's my wish list.
It's my wish list. Yeah. Hey, so keeping my realistic cap on, number 2 for me right now is going to be no other than Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Because you could take him later in the draft. You're not having to trade out of anything to get him. If you're higher on him enough and he has a good game against, Alabama here coming up, you might be able to sneak him in with that 5th-year option. I mean, you got the capital move around. There's a chance he could slide to the 2nd round, and you're positioning yourself to not have to risk too much to give it up. Plus, still leaves you an opportunity to get the guy who's on my number 1. But I'll let you go first.
All right. Well, just going back to your number 2, I just don't know if I want another second round quarterback again. I feel like I need a first rounder. Anyway, that being said,
this ain't the draft for it then. And maybe we need to throw our rookies up the list.
There you go. So number 1, I got to go with Mr. Kirk Cousins. I mean, if he becomes available, I think that is the ticket for the Denver Broncos franchise and could be set up for a little bit longer than a Mr. Aaron Rodgers.
Holy cannoli. Who thought the end of the show would end this way? Keith Brugman and Matt Staffiero agreement. My number 1 prospect, my number 1 target for the Broncos wish list, I would be the most happy with, is Kirk Cousins. And I'll explain this. We talked about this in depth last week, but on Wednesday, but I'll revisit it here. You essentially, the cost to obtain is going to be significantly less than Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson. He's the same age as Russell Wilson. You essentially got him on a 1-year deal, a 1-year, $35 million deal. He's been putting up top 5 numbers. He's been playing lights out with a great receiving core, a solid run game. You're essentially putting him here. You're putting him in a system that somewhat fits him a little bit better. If Pat Shurmur comes back, if not, I'm sure we'll find someone that he's kind of a plug and play type of quarterback. But essentially, you're going to probably still be able to keep some of your draft capital. If you're not 100% committed to Kirk Cousins, you have the ability to go out and get your rookie, move around and grab him. You don't have to feel the pressure to get him. You could have him agree to an extension before signing, and next thing you know, you're locked into 2 to 3 years of this. This draft class is terrible. I mean, people are going to try to sell you that Kenny Pickett's an all-star, Matt Corral is great. Yeah, they've looked great, but rumors prior to this draft class, prior to this college football season, was that Kyle Trask would have been the number 1 quarterback. Where did Kyle Trask go? Very end of the 2nd round. This is not a strong quarterback class. Yeah. Could there be a diamond in the rough? Sure. But Kirk Cousins provides you stability for at least next year. And I would resign him. I think he's underrated.
I 100% agree, man. Has proved it all the way out in Washington. Continues to put up great numbers up in Minnesota. Doesn't get all the fanfare that you'd necessarily see from some franchises. Minnesota's just not that place. It's not the big city and the bright lights. And man, he goes up there and he puts up 4,000-yard seasons. He puts up great touchdown to interception ratios. He's my guy, man. I can't believe we agree on this, but overall our list didn't match up too bad.
If he's available, that's if he becomes available, and there's no excuse. George Payton, you got the link, you make it happen.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. You got that relationship. We've already been talking. We've already made trades. It's time it's time to rattle that tree.
The last thing I'll say about Kirk Cousins is dude's been fighting doubters since day 1. We talked about it last week. That was Shanahan's guy. RG3 was drafted by that management team, and he was forced him. He said, "No, Kirk's got it." And Kirk came on, won the job, and now look, he was the first quarterback to get a fully guaranteed contract. I mean, the dude's a fighter. If he gets an opportunity here, there's no doubt he'll be the best quarterback we've had since Peyton Manning.
Yep. Hey, Matt, before we get off the air, I know that we did a shout out right at the beginning of our pregame show. I can't believe I kind of forgot about this. But I got to give a big shout out. So my dad went to Montana State University. My father-in-law went to Montana State University. My daughter's a graduate. My wife went to Montana State University. Montana State University Bobcats have just clinched with their freshman quarterback, who came in only for the playoffs, a chance at the national championship in the FCS. So they're heading down to Frisco, Texas in 2 weeks, playing for their first national championship since 1984. So go Bobcats. Got to go there, man.
There you go, man. Hey, that was a great shout out to have it. My final thought of the day will always be, it was tough today. It's not looking great for us in the future, but at the end of the day, we're Broncos fans. We're football fans, and it'll get better one day, just not today. Just not today. But with that being said, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight. A thank you to you, Keith, for joining me tonight. Another huge thank you to everyone who supports us that couldn't join us tonight. And the last big thank you I will give to will be our sponsor, Willow Seasonings and Blends, LLC, for putting the spice in our life and allowing us to provide you guys with awesome content all the time. Be sure that you come back and you check us out. We'll be back this upcoming Wednesday at 6 o'clock to talk on our normal Wednesday show. We'll have a great show planned for you guys. Also, please check us out. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere social media is. Rocky Mountain Sports Network is in there. We talk way more than football. I'm on Twitter. Keith's on Twitter. Dave's on Twitter. We got King Cole and Gregory Dowdna talking tons of hockey for you guys coming up, as there's at least a little bit of a bright spot in some Colorado sports there. But but until then, guys, we'll catch you next Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed the show, and that's all we got for now. See you later.
See you then.